Hello friends, so today's video is going to be a list of some classic fantasy and then some backlist books that I want to read. Before jumping into it, a big thank you to GlassesUSA.com for working with me on today's video. A particular pair of glasses that I'm wearing today, as well as any other pair of glasses that you see me wearing at any point, they're always from GlassesUSA.com. I'll have this pair as well as some of my other favorites linked in the description bar down below. They deliver directly to your home. They have a virtual try-on feature. You can scan your glasses using their app if you need to know what your prescription is. They also have prescription sunglasses, regular sunglasses, blue light blocking lenses. They have a lot of different shapes and sizes for the designs of the glasses, a lot of different colors. So in general, if you've never checked them out, you're looking for maybe a little bit more convenient and affordable of an option for your glasses, then give GlassesUSA.com a try. Thanks so much to them again for partnering with me today. Now on to the video. At the time that I'm filming this, it is November of 2022, and I likely won't be able to get around to these immediately. So it's not like a monthly TBR where, oh, here's what I'm going to pick up next month sort of a situation. More so, I'm planning for next year. I do like to look ahead. I do like to try and figure out, especially for some of these because there are so many books in the series, how I can best approach getting into them. And that's very true for the first two because, oh my gosh, these authors have written so many books, and some of these are within worlds that there are so many books within those worlds, and those aren't even all the books that the author has written. All that said, the first two on the list would be Terry Pratchett and Mercedes Lackey, specifically the Discworld series, and then also Valdemar. So I have seen from a lot of people that a good place to start with Valdemar would be the Arrows trilogy. Somebody sent this to me a really long time ago. I love that it's a big floppy paperback, and I've heard really good things about Mercedes Lackey. I've heard she's quite funny. And I know my friend Sophia from Sophia's Thoughts has picked up some of the books in this world and quite liked them. And that makes me really excited. I think I read a lot of new releases just because I think there's a lot of classic fantasy out there that for people getting into fantasy, they're going to hear about the classics before they're probably going to hear about the ones that are brand new, with exceptions, of course. There's some like Babel or ACOTAR where everybody hears about those. But regardless, I do think that for the most part, I read a lot of newer things, and sometimes when I do go back and I pick up some of the older things, I can appreciate how they have influenced the genre, and I can appreciate how the style of writing was maybe a little bit different, the style of storytelling was a little bit different, but also fantasy has changed so much, and so it almost can feel like you're reading a different genre to some degree, and it seems like Mercedes Lackey and Terry Pratchett, from everything I have seen, are great, timeless writers. I feel like that was a whole tangent to get to that point. That's where I'm going with this, is that they seem like the kind of writers that you can come back to, the kinds of themes that are there, or the kinds of points that they're making, or the way that they express themselves in their writing, or the way their characters express themselves in their writing. It's something that you can pick up, and it doesn't feel like it came from a different time. It feels like it is timeless. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll pick it up and I'll be like, I don't really like this. I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm going to fall in love with these series, especially Terry Pratchett. So with Discworld, my friend Alan, who I'll have his channel linked, he's a big fan, and he has spoken so highly of Terry Pratchett, and he has mentioned in some chats where there are certain things, the way that Terry Pratchett will discuss somebody living in poverty and the differences between classes, and the way he goes about it will be really, really funny, but at the same time it really makes you reflect. And I have found that that is, right now at least, my favorite way to read about stories that are maybe a little more thematically driven, when there's a sense of it being satirical at the same time. So I'm really excited for Discworld. Alan does have a whole video about how to get into it, and I'll have that specific video linked. If any of you have any of your own recommendations for how you should think, how you think you should go into Discworld, you can let me know your thoughts on that as well. Same with Valdemar. If you have your own thoughts, I, in the past, have mentioned that I want to get into the series, and I found this reading order, and it seemed like a lot of you who are familiar with this world were like, that's a pretty solid one. You can definitely go with that. So I do think I'm going to start with this trilogy. I want to note, for anybody else who's like me, who doesn't really know anything about these, some of you have said that this feels a little bit more like modern young adult, to where if young adult existed more significantly at the time that Mercedes Lackey was writing, that some of the books feel like they could be young adult. And I'm actually really excited about that, because I think that'll make it a little bit easier to get into also. regardless, I'm excited to get into both of these series. If you have any notes and any recommendations or advice for getting into them, or just these authors in general, feel free to leave your expertise in the comments. After that, we have Octavia Butler. So there are a lot of Octavia Butler books that after I read Parable of the Sower, I went out and got because I wanted to read more from her. The thing with even just the one book I've read that I feel like is the reason I haven't already picked up more of her books is because Parable of the Sower was very dark and very, very, very bleak. And I think it's the kind of story you kind of have to be in the right headspace to read. And if you let yourself maybe get into it a little too much, it can actually kind of affect you in a negative way, which I don't know how to explain it. I think that that's an important thing to do, especially to explore that through writing. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are capable of operating at full function. You want to make sure that you can get about your day without being like, oh, mankind's terrible, which is kind of what Parable of the Sower made me feel. I thought it was great. I thought the writing was great, but I did need to take some time before diving into other ones by Octavia Butler. All that said, I did go out and I did get a lot of her other works. I don't know where I'm going to start. I think I might start with Kindred. I have both the book as well as the graphic novel version of that. And I know she has some series that are kind of more sci-fi leaning. I might try those. I'm not really sure which one I want to start with, but if you have any recommendations for where to go from here. I know that Parable of the Sower has another book that came after, but that the series wasn't able to be completed because she sadly passed away before she could complete the series. So I know that that's an option too, to just continue on with that one, but your advice here would be appreciated as well. After that, we have some Laini Taylor. I love Strange the Dreamer. It is one of my favorite series of all time. It's just a duology, so it always feels weird to call it a series, especially when talking about Discworld and Voldemort a second ago. But regardless, I love the Strange the Dreamer duology so much. I did read a long time ago Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but it was quite a while ago, and I meant to continue on the series at some point, and it's been long enough now where I definitely feel like I would need to reread the first one in that series, continue on with that. And then I found out she had this other story that she wrote a long time ago. I found the first one at a local used bookstore and I was like, this is Laini Taylor? And I didn't even know that this other story had existed. So basically, I just want to read whatever Laini Taylor has out because I think that her writing is so unique. And the way that she, well, at least in Strange the Dreamer, the way that she executed the themes was incredible. The themes themselves were really important ones. I always talk about the compassion and the cycles of violence, which is a little bit more common, but how compassion is tied into that is just done so well. And I think that she has such a creative imagination. I haven't really read anything quite like Strange the Dreamer. And I'm like, well, if I want to read something kind of like it, I feel like the best chance of getting something like it would be More Things by Laini Taylor. So hopefully next year I can go through Laini Taylor's Backlist books. After that, Kingfisher. Who's tired of me talking about Kingfisher? I am. I'm already tired of talking about her, except for I'm not really, because I think she's great. And I think she's a chameleon. So I picked up Nettle and Bone this year. All of you know this origin story of my love of Kingfisher at this point, I feel like. But anyway, one of you recommended Kingfisher. You're like, I don't feel like BookTube talks about her enough, because I did a video about books that I found that I don't think are talked about on BookTube enough. And then one of you mentioned her, and I was like, all right. I was literally like answering comments, and I had a tab open where I was about to pre-order something, and it was just serendipity, because the comment talking about Kingfisher, and then the other screen had a recommendation you might also like, and it mentioned Nettle and Bone. I was like, wow, all right. It feels meant to be. And so I got it, and I loved it, and then I haven't shut up about her since. And I have read 4 at this point other books. I read Paladin's Grace, What Moves the Dead, The Seventh Bride, and A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. I loved the last one I just mentioned. I loved this one, and I enjoyed the others. I didn't love them, but they're so different from book to book. She is so different, and she kind of writes in different genres, and she actually does have some horror stories that I want to check out, and she has man, she just has so many other ones that when I go to look her up, I'm like, ugh, I feel like I haven't even put a dent in her amount of books that she's written. So I do want to read more by Kingfisher. Love her authorial voice. I think she's hilarious. I love that she goes for it and she just tries so many different styles. I just think she's great, so I want to read more of her works. Speaking of writers who I think are great, the last two I'm going to mention would be Arakawa, who wrote Full Metal Alchemist. I really want to read Silver Spoon. I hear some people like Silver Spoon more. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if I could possibly like something more than Full Metal, but I don't know. You never know. Maybe I'll like it just as much. Hopefully, that's the goal, right? You want to like it just as much. I feel like I'll have a crisis if I like it more, because do you ever feel like that when you read a new thing that is really good and you love it so much that then you're like, but is it better than these other favorites of mine? I guess I gotta go back and reread because I don't know. And you treat them like they're a person. It's like, I don't have kids, so this is a terrible analogy, but it's almost like you have a kid and you love them so much. You have another kid and you're like, I can only like it just as much, right? Like I can't like this one more. That's a terrible analogy. That was just pretend I didn't say that. Anyway, I really want to read other things written by Arakawa. I want to read Silver Spoon. I can't wait to jump into it. I think it's just about life on a farm, if I'm not mistaken. I'm excited. I don't know. It sounds fun. And then last, we have Jen Williams, who her books are behind me right now. So I am so excited because it was announced that she is going to be writing another fantasy series. I can't wait. Oh my gosh. And also, she has another series that I have not read that is out already and completed, and so I definitely want to at some point check that one out. I don't know, I don't remember if it was said in the announcement when that new series was coming out, but I think it was not that long of a wait, which makes me very excited. So I plan to also read, oh my gosh, I love The Winnowing Flame so much. I love a lot of these a lot. I'm very excited for all of these. There's just a part of me that's like, just consider this my TBR for next year because I can't wait to get into all of these. Can you tell how excited I am? I'm so excited. That's it for some classic fantasy and backlist books that I want to get around to probably in 2023. Let me know any of your thoughts on any of these series. Let me know if there's any others that you think I should check out based off of my taste, based off what I've said here, any recommendations or advice or just whatever thoughts you have going on in your head right now. Whatever you feel like saying, feel free to say. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.